Welcome back, everyone. This is Mr. Brain, your friendly neighborhood gaming dad, here with a hero breakdown video. And you might have already seen the hero first looks that I made for both of these characters, but for this video, we're going to focus on Eddie. Eddie, right off the bat, is a siege infantry commander. We've been waiting for one of these, especially with the Adut coming out and her being as powerful infantry attack wise as she was, but getting saddled with this piece of crap general tree, let's be honest, but having so much infantry attack. And now we have a siege commander that might be a good pair for him. So let's break this down in our usual fashion. We've got his hero skills, ways you plan to use him in combat, a good talent tree build for him as best as I can, and different commanders that I probably will pair him with as soon as he is unlocked for us. Now, take this with a grain of salt. This hero is not out yet. There are some things that I'm not going to know about, and I will try and come back to this video to update it as we learn more information. That being said, let's get into it. Grand Feast. Rage required 1000. Deals damage up to 11,300. Kind of low, but gains a shield for 2 seconds of a factor of 2,500. Both of those paired together makes for a bit of a tanky build and still being able to deal some damage. Raigoro is stuck with a 9,600 shield, but can't do any skill damage. Here we have Eddie giving us a shield and some decent damage. Skill number 2 increases infantry squad defense by 30%. That's a nice buff right there. And let's take a look at the second part. When your remaining squad size is less than 30%, increases counter damage by 15%. Now, you've heard me talk about that sentence before. When your remaining squad size is less than 30%. This is a garrison or rally capability. This activates when your squad specifically is lower than 30%, which can get down to pretty quickly. So as you get weaker, even if your rally or your garrison is still full, you're going to do 15% more counter damage, which is effectively 7.5% damage increase against one-on-one fights. But this is devastating against swarms, either on garrison or on rallies. This is going to help people be deterred from trying to swarm down this rally. This is even more so. When leading only infantry squads, increases counter damage dealt by 44%. This is the highest counter damage buff we've seen so far. Raigoro's is a set at 30%, I believe. Increases squad counter damage by 30%. If these two were paired together on a defense, that is a counter damage of 74%, which is ridiculous. But you're going to be running him in rallies, which are going to be boosting his attack power, and this is going to keep him from being swarmed. To have an additional huge chunk of damage be dealt from your rally back to your enemies, no matter how many people try and swarm this down, this is, unless there's an overwhelming force, this is going to guarantee one-on-one rallies. Your rally versus their garrison. Swarming this will be devastating to whoever's trying to swarm it. Skill number 4 increases infantry squad HP by 30%. I'm mixed about the amount of buffs that the new heroes are getting, because this plus this adds up to a 60% stat buff. Now, I know you need to make the new heroes better than the old ones to give incentive to keep playing, but at the same time, it's getting a bit ridiculous. At what point do free-to-play players stop investing in old heroes and just wait for new ones. Because the buffs are just that much better. And the cost is the same as far as universal relics is concerned. Anyways, during sieges, basic attacks have a 20% chance to reduce the enemy squad's HP by 25% for 2 seconds. This means you're going to do more damage for 2 seconds at a time. This effect can be triggered at most once every 6 seconds. Based on the wording, you've heard me talk about this before. This is going to run about 7 to 9 seconds each time it activates. Because of that 20% chance, there's a 1 in 5 chance of this happening, and you're going to average about a 7 to 9 second between this activation. So it's going to be pretty nice. Every 7 to 9 seconds, 2 of those seconds are going to be doing a lot more damage for you. And with infantry dealing more with basic attack damage or counterattack damage, it's going to pile up for you. And Awaken skill. When the shield is broken or disappears, reduces the HP of up to 3 nearby enemy squads by 20% for 2 seconds. I'm going to admit, this is busted. If you pair him with another quick charge shield or any shield, the ability to reduce the HP of multiple squads around you every single time, because there's not a time limit on this. If he activates that shield and it breaks or disappears, it's an HP reduction. If he gets another shield from another source and that breaks, it happens again. When we talk about Robert later on, he has a shield factor that can happen just randomly during combat. So you have that option as well. So, busted Awakened ability, in my opinion. Having an AoE debuff focused on HP that can trigger as often as it does, it's going to be great. Now, while he does have a lot of garrison-like abilities going for him, and if you want to run him on garrisons, he does have a really nice defense tree paired with this infantry squad. I've gotten some really mixed reviews on their siege tree, but it does help if you're focused on siege. If you want to run him as a versatile unit, you can run defense and infantry squad, focus on infantry squad, to boost his stats and make him placeable just about anywhere. He's going to be a really good open field combatant. He's going to be a great rally commander, and he's going to be a fairly decent garrison commander in a pinch. If you've got better, you've got better. But if you need him in a pinch to kind of counter a swarm, or you've got no one else on that can do it, he can fill in that spot. Now, talents will go into another commander who has a similar set tree, and just look at the talents. For infantry, I would suggest go ahead and max this out. You're going to get an additional 3% squad attack, defense, and HP for running only infantry squads. And if you're wanting that third skill activation, you're going to be running only infantry squads. So max out the points here. You'll pick up infantry guard. Basic attack damage is kind of a given. Increasing his damage on rallies is going to be great. Don't pick this up. You're not slowing down anything that's not moving. If you want him to be a little bit faster, you can pick up here, but you can skip all three of these points and just pick up this. From there, I would definitely make sure you pick up the rage talent down here. Definitely pick up the defense talent. And if you're going to be running in a group, having the additional healing will help, even if it's small, but a little bit of healing goes a long way. Once you've picked up these 3, if you have enough points to get further along the line, this can help, especially with your rallies getting additional rage. If you can't, that's fine. Pick up additional stats elsewhere, because you can pick up additional squad attack and squad defense down here. That's how I would run it. Max out the infantry tree, pick up as much as you can in defense, sprinkle some stat buffs. Now, as far as pairs, I do like Eddie Adud on rallies. With him focused on counterattack damage and her boosting damage overall, especially in those really long fights, even if she switches over to her defensive side, and she's still going to be a 44% buff to attack here, still going to have all of those amazing counter damage buffs, and still be beefy in the process. A nice 30% defense buff, 40% defense buff. He's sitting on another 30% here, as well as a 30% HP. There's a lot of great infantry buffs when you pair those two together on rallies. I personally, and take this with a grain of salt, want to pair him with Raigoro in the open field. I want to test it out. Sue me, but with his shield plus Raigoro shield, I'm thinking that Raigoro with Robert would be a better option, but I want to test that damage increase when shield is activated. If Eddie leads Raigoro, Eddie will lead for have a 2-second shield, 3-turn shield. When both dissipate, there's damage involved. I think there's a potential there. I don't think it's the best option, and I'll talk about that in Robert's video. And there's also the option to pair with Tom in the open field to help to get a little bit extra skill damage on those counterattacks. Because squad counterattacks have a 10% chance to deal 4,000 skill damage. Yes, this says it once every 3 seconds, but there's already a 1 in 10 chance already. The likelihood of it happening one after another is fairly slim. Chances are you're going to get this 1 in 10 seconds. And that counts for every squad around you. So if you have 5 or 6 swarming you, expect it to happen about every 3 seconds, which can stack up. And of course, you can pair him with Robert. I'll go over all the different things in Robert's video, but to sum it up, he gets a shield in the middle of combat, just randomly. Small buff to it. It's a small buff, lasts 2 seconds. He also gets a nice shield deflection ability. 16% of this damage absorbed by the shield will be deflected at the enemy. So that's 11-3 plus 16% of the shield. It does put him just a little bit more damage. And with that, that's what I think about Eddie. When he's released with the next top commander, we'll have a little bit more information about him. Hopefully we can get to test him out before the next island raid, not this one coming up, but the next island raid. We'll get an idea of how he runs in rallies. And we'll have quite a few people who have awakened him by then. And with that, this is Mr. Brain, your friendly neighborhood gaming dad, signing off.